We started our project over a year ago, and we've had more difficulty completing ours. I think it's mainly because it's two people that like to say yes to a lot of things, and so this becomes secondary to many of those projects that we do ongoing. So it's been a little bit frustrating for us because we would have liked to have had this completed and had our convention paid for as well, but that did not happen for this time. But it should happen for
Next year.
That's right, it should.
Big pipe.
That's exactly right. Okay, so our title, and just to give you a little background, our title has to do with the meaningfulness of the experience of lung cancer. Tough area, one that we know has a very low success of living past 2 years. So when you see this title, we're looking at the people that live past 2 years, why are they being able to survive? And we really felt that it has a psychological component to it, that it's not necessarily the physiological, but more the psychological. Hence, why the two of us came together, because I'm a psychology kind of person, and Susie's more a physiology kind of person in the nursing world. She's very interested in cancer. I'm very interested in how people live longer. And I think she is too, but I'm a real psyche person. So we decided to collaborate on this effort, have had a great time putting it together, but as Drew pointed out, it is a frustrating process at times, especially when it comes to the review. And as Drew pointed out, I'm a researcher. This should be easy for me, but it's not easy because when you're doing an extensive lit review, it doesn't matter what it is, you're having to go out there and look at everything possible and then deciding what is worthy of your research question and what is not. So it doesn't matter whether you're a good researcher or a poor researcher. It doesn't matter if you've had lots of experience or no experience. What matters is that you stay on course with the focus, which has to be a very, very narrow focus, and stay with that to the very end. So in this particular area, you will notice that lots of lung cancer research, but not necessarily on the meaningfulness of the experiences related to living past 2 years. Okay? So we had to keep coming back to what answers that question. I thought I might want to show you what lung cancer looks like. You know, in my world, I don't see pictures of what nurses see all the time. In my world, I'm just looking at, are you active? Are you thinking positively? And are you eating right? That's my world. In your world, you see things a little differently. And if you don't know, like I did when I first saw these pictures, this is the healthy lung. That's the really bad lung. And this is, okay, you see this right in through here. This is the lung, and right there is the cancer. Okay, so that's just a picture of what a doctor will see when it comes out. Now, why am I showing you this? Because I want you to have a vivid picture of why we're doing what we're doing. The lungs are what help us get oxygen in and out. They're our breathing mechanism. And when it's compromised like this, it's problematic. And when cancer starts taking place, typically you're in stage 2, 3, or 4 fairly quickly, and it's starting to spread to other areas of the body. So what we're wanting to know is, you take a stage 4 cancer patient and they live past 2 years, something else is going on, because the majority don't. This was the background, and you know, I'm going to go more into the actual what we found kind of stuff. Drew did a great job of explaining what all happens as far as the process goes. I'm taking the process through, but you're going to see what we know as we move through the process. So you can see that lung cancer affects 1.3 million a year worldwide. It affects 30% of the U.S. population yearly. The median age is 71 years. Typically under the age of 20, you don't see much lung cancer at all. So that shows you that it's a cancer that affects mainly older people as they go through. 5-year survival rate, 15.6%. Women, 17.2, men, 13.6. So it says women are outliving the men by a little bit when it comes to the lung cancer. Treatment has typically been chemo, surgery, and radiation. You notice up there, treatment does not include psychological treatment. It's pretty much physical treatment that you see in the research that we did initially. There are some psychological self-reports, and one in particular said, if you live past 5 years, you're considered an exceptional survivor. But went on to explain that it had to do with psychological influences, not the treatments or the physical influences. I will point out that there is one area of physical that does have an impact, and I'll be talking about that, and that's physical activity. It does have an impact on survival as well. Conflicting reports, as Drew said, you're going to find for every study that says, yes, this works, there's another study that says, no, it doesn't. Although I will tell you, there's a lot of, in the articles that we did decide to use based on our criteria, which were 13, there was a lot of commonality between those articles. There were multiple terms used, that's a problem, and there were multiple scales used, problem. We could not do a meta-analysis because there were too many of everything, too different numbers, everything out there. That what you'll see from me is a table that I condensed some information. There was a lot more information that I had that I'm not showing you today, but I can condense it down to 4 main scales that I think are very important for what we're doing. Again, same process that Drew showed you. I'm not going to go into that, but I am going to explain what the process does. So here's a research question. What is the meaningfulness of the experience of surviving adult onset lung cancer 2 or more years after diagnosis? This is a systematic review, so we're looking at exhausting the literature out there for what can we find for the answers. Here was our objective, to try to identify and present the best available evidence for future practices, to be able to go in and actually work with individuals on a regular basis, whether it be from a physical perspective or a psychological perspective, but we were really looking for that psychological aspect. We searched the databases for anything between 1999 and 2002. We originally said 2000. We backed it up a year for a selfish reason. One of the studies we really wanted to use was 1999. So we went ahead and stayed. When we first started this, it was 1999 and 2009. We went ahead and bumped it to 2010 and left the 99. Our keywords and index terms, you can see adult lung cancer, survivor, quality of life, lived experience, hardiness, resilience, and optimism. Those were the words that we were out there trying to find. Anything that happened with lung cancer, and then we had to look at post 2 years. They were grouped either by qualitative or separated specifically by quantitative type studies. As it resulted, descriptive and case, we also had some experimental designs. We had all kinds of stuff out there, but we then went back and just pretty much went qualitative versus quantitative to separate the results. Again, like Drew said, we had 2 reviewers, myself and Dr. Lockwood, who's from nursing. I was the primary reviewer, she was the secondary reviewer. All that means is that I'm supposed to do an initial review, and then she comes back, does a secondary review, then we come back together, see where the differences are. We discuss those. Any disagreements that we have, we try to bring some consolidation to that. If we can't, then we throw it out, if we cannot come to a consensus on it. As it turned out, we did not really go primary-secondary like you usually look at it. We actually split the articles. I did primary, she did primary, then we switched. I did primary, she did primary, then we came back together. So we really both were doing primary investigation work in order to make sure that we were really on top of the game for this, because this was a difficult area to try to make sense of. You can see our lit review. This table is very similar. This is part of the template that you have to design and come up with. You'll see that ours came through very similar numbers. I was shocked. His was like 488, ours was 448 for the number that we could have used if they had fallen in the criteria. But down here, this is where it's important. Our number for articles was 13. I have to tell you, that's a large number for a database. Typically, you will see, when you finish these results, you will see somewhere in the 1 to about 8 or 9 range. 13 is huge for this kind of impact. So maybe I can blame it on that. I'll just say the reason we haven't completed ours yet, no, we've completed it. We're actually in the revisions of our final piece, so we're fine.